Okay, Vic, before we get started on the Curve Weekly, I would like your help with something, and actually every single person listening that's interested. So we have recently started working with a PR agency here in the UK, and I just had a meeting with them, and someone from the Sunday Times is writing an article on money and dating post cost of living crisis, etc. And we've had the opportunity to share some stats based on how people are dating, if they date for money. And I thought this would be a really cool opportunity to put out a little quiz. So we've put one together and put it in the podcast show notes. But basically to find out how people feel about dating and money at the moment.
Oh, gosh.
Obviously a very complicated subject. You don't have to be dating or recently dating to weigh in on this. It can be just like hypothetically. If you were on a dating app, do you look at XYZ?
Yes.
But I thought it would be fun. Before we get into the episode, I'm just going to ask you a couple of the questions that are in the quiz we've put together, okay? I want to ask you. So these are the questions that you'll find in the quiz. If you literally just clicked on the episode, you'll see like the link to answer these yourself. But Vic, do you consider how much someone earns when you're dating? In all honesty. Remember, this is anonymous, so no one's going to go, I mean, you're not anonymous.
I'm like, that sucks for me.
You can say pass if you want.
Yes. And it doesn't come from... Can I explain?
Yeah.
Okay. It doesn't come from a shallow place. It comes from a place of like, I have certain goals in life that I want to achieve, and I want someone that has similar goals, and those goals take money. And that is what I'm going to say.
Nice. Would you refuse to date someone if they earned below a certain amount?
No.
Love that from you.
But I would want to know. It's all about context, you know? Like I've had very different salaries throughout my life. So I think there's times when I won't be earning any income at some point if I have family. You know, there's so many life stages and ages and
I love that. Like, disclaimer.
Disclaimer.
Oh, there's so many fun ones in here. What else? I'll ask you one more. Do you find yourself drawn to people who are in higher earning careers? So if you were on a dating app and you were swiping and you saw, I don't know, lawyer, finance bro, would you be like a cheeky right? Or
I think I used to gravitate towards people that had
it's so funny how awkward you are, by the way, answering these.
Some correlation to finance because I come from a finance world, so it's almost like a conversation starter.
So much in common.
But then it gets to a point like there is some industries I'm like, yes, I'm making generalization, but I'm going to be like, you're a wanker.
Right.
You know? So it's like, and like, no offense to anyone in these careers, but I don't care if you come at me. But no, like real estate, I'm kind of like, yeah. Lawyer, I'm like, will you even have time to date me? You know, like I'm making all these like huge sweeping generalizations, but that's kind of my thought process. It's not like purely high salary, low salary. It's like, that's a huge doctor even. I'd be like, oh gosh, will you have even time to date me? Because it's so hectic.
But you are the busiest person I know. So
we'd never see each other.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So there's things like that. Yeah.
Okay. So there's a lot of, well, actually there's not that many. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's about 8 questions similar to the ones we've just talked about in this quiz. If you can answer these, we would love it because it's going to hopefully feature in the Sunday Times article. Side note, depending on what comes in from this, I actually think doing a whole episode talking about dating and money would be really interesting. Like to see what the stats are. Like, would you date for money? What is the percentage of people that would say yes versus no? And please answer these questions honestly because it'll be really interesting to see. Okay, now we're going to go to the Curve Weekly.
Welcome to the Curve Weekly, the podcast that keeps you up to date with all of the money, business and stock market tea.
Brought to you by the Curve's research team. It's the latest insights on what's happening in the stock market, companies, other money-related news so that you can stay educated and ahead of the curve.
You can thank us later for sounding smarter than those finance bros at your next dinner party.
Vic, how was Barcelona?
Oh, love Barcelona. Hola, chica.
Did you learn anything other than hola, chica?
Yeah. La cuenta, por favor.
Don't tell me what that is. I think I know. La cuenta. No, I forgot.
the bill, please.
Oh, yeah.
We're asking for that a lot. We ate out a lot of Spanish tapas. Yeah, no, I loved it. It was just nice and warm, like not, should I take a jacket or should I not? Rather than here, what 3 jackets am I going to wear? It's freezing.
I think I could live in Barcelona. It's like a sunnier, slightly less chaotic version of London.
Yeah, except the crime.
Yeah, you do have to be on high alert, don't you?
Yeah, I was like, hold your bags, hold your phones. Me gets her phone stolen once.
And so no one that you were with had anything bad happen?
Yes, well, not who we were with, but 2 people we knew of. One person we were with and then their friend, got their Rolexes stolen.
Holy shit.
It must be a watch thing. Because you had a story.
Yeah, that's so crazy.
Yeah, and he had like bruises all up his arms. It was quite hectic.
Really?
They tried to get it off him and he couldn't.
That's interesting because the story I heard, I was there it's so funny. When I was in Barcelona, it was like the week before the sailing. And everyone's like, oh, are you going for the sailing? I was like, no, conveniently missing the entire sailing. Didn't even know it was happening. But I was buying a piece of art.
And when Soph talked about the sailing, it was the America's Cup.
Sorry.
Yeah, happens every 4 years. Yeah. And we won for the 3rd year in a row. And it was, Saturday was a big day. It was great fun.
I don't know why I've never felt super excited by the sailing. And we've got friends who are really involved in it. And I know they're such talented athletes, but I don't know, for some reason it feels so elite, actually going to watch it. What was the crowd? Was there a balance of...
No, it is elite, but you can watch it on the land or on a boat, or there's lots of fan zones and areas. You can watch it at bars, on the beach. But it is elite in that it is so expensive to be a part of it in terms of the cost of the boat, sponsorship, all of that. There's only a few countries that are involved, and New Zealand, I think we punch above our weight in the fact that we're such a small country, but we're the city of sails in Auckland, we have to be good sailors. I did Sea Scouts. I felt like I was at home. I was like, oh, yep, jibe left, jibe right.
God. How many countries do compete in the America's Cup?
Oh, 7 or 8?
It's not many, is it? If you compare that to other sports where there's hundreds.
Oh, guess who I saw?
Oh my gosh, what?
Bernard Allnott.
Oh yes.
The CEO of LVMH.
Okay, so you're going to have to give more context.
Okay, so the America's Cup, the biggest sponsor, it's called the Louis Vuitton America's Cup. So, and there's Louis Vuitton everywhere, Louis Vuitton Cup, 37th America's Cup, all that. Yeah. And then the prize giving at the end, before Emirates Team New Zealand came on and received the trophy, they're like, now we want to thank our sponsors, blah, blah, blah. And then old Bernard comes out and does a speech.
It's so funny because I got this video from Vic,
so grainy,
wavering in the crowd, really shit quality, Bernard coming in and out of focus. I was like, what's going on? She's like, it's Bernard from LVMH.
I was like, Soph will appreciate this.
I did appreciate it, but it's quite funny because I was thinking, I bet there's almost 1% of people there understand the magnitude of him. And
speaking. It was funny. One of my friends was like, why are you filming? I was like, oh, it's Bernard. It's Bernard. Yeah, anyway, I was like, we talk about it all the time on the podcast. And he was like, do you want to go meet him? And I was like,
surely you did.
I was like, what do you mean? And it was so packed. We were so far back. You know how tiny the photo was.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you mean? And then I got really awkward. He's like, we can go meet him. And I was like, you're just pulling my leg. He's the richest man in the world. He'll have about 10 bodyguards. I'm not going to run up to him and be like, hi, I've got a podcast and I mention you quite a lot.
Did you meet him?
No.
Oh, I would have paid money to see Vic 5 drinks in try and talk to Bernard. What do you think would have been the first question you ask? Would it have been investing related? Or do you think you would have fangirled?
I think I would have frozen.
Yeah.
It would have been, hola. Hola, Bernard.
Let's move on to actual news. I'm really glad that you're being the UK New Zealand correspondent for us for the America's World Cup.
And happy to do it anytime.
Okay, perfect. Well, you can expense the whole thing,
amazing. Okay, cool. Yeah. Happy to also start the Barcelona office if we ever need
I'm starting the Barcelona office. Well, let's just see who learns Spanish first because I've actually booked in for some classes. So
I've downloaded Duolingo. Competition will be coming into the office. Hola, chicas. My office is like, what? Yeah.
So what has been happening? Because I'm impressed that you've kept up with the news.
Yes, I know. I'm a lady of many talents. Multitasking, watching the sailing while also reading. That's me on a boat.
can just tell it's going to be such a long week. No, I'm happy to have you back. I am really.
Yes. No, but some news that blew me away was...
Off the boat?
Yeah, literally, nearly. You know the whole craze with Ozempic, all the weight loss drugs and everything? There is now the UK government giving weight loss drugs to people to help them get back into the workforce. So illnesses caused by obesity cause people to take an extra 4 days sick leave a year. So that's an extra 4 days sick leave a year on average.
What from? What kind
From obesity, like diabetes, health-related issues caused by obesity. So what the government is now saying is that to alleviate the NHS, which is the National Health Service, as well as boost productivity for the economy, we're going to give those people weight loss drugs.
Is absolutely wild.
So it's funny though, because I've seen as these weight loss drugs have become more, I guess, prevalent, I've kind of seen two sides of the argument. And one is that obviously they're great for people with diabetes, but then they've gotten to the mainstream and a lot of people are having them for non-weight loss, non-diabetic purposes. And so to see now a government stepping in and going, okay, we can now see the benefits, which might be outside of diabetes as well. I don't know. I'm just like, where do we land with this?
I feel like if someone is using a drug that has been created for a specific illness, for example, if you have diabetes and you're really struggling with your weight, you can't lose it, and it's actually your health is at risk. Something like Ozempic is incredible. That's amazing. I think what is so problematic is people getting Ozempic to try and lose weight for their wedding, or getting Ozempic for aesthetic reasons. That is really alarming. And the problem is that it is available for people to buy. It's expensive, but you can get it, even if you're not diabetic. And I think even just the title that the UK government is giving weight loss injections to people is so bizarre. And when you say it takes, maybe on average they spend another 4 days having to take sick leave or whatever, it does make me think about people with endometriosis who have to get operations and are taking 2 weeks off, or there's so many other health related problems that I don't think are getting enough airtime. It's not to say that people with diabetes shouldn't get access to Ozempic if it's going to really help them from a health perspective. But if they're worried about people's productivity and the economy and people having to take time off work, then look at other health-related problems that a lot of women face and don't get extra time off work.
And the other thing is, like, the reason now that these have gotten to the mainstream and people are using them for non-diabetic purposes, there's such a shortage of supply that the people that actually need it aren't getting it.
See, that really makes me sad.
Yeah, and now you've got this also, you've got the UK government being like, okay, we want some as well. Like, there's just... You either need to restrict it to people who need it.
I think that that's what needs to happen.
Yeah, and you only get it by prescription or whatever it is.
It just seems bizarre to me that someone can go in and buy this.
But also, with this, what I do not like about this, but what I can see in terms of the benefits is that they say this costs the NHS $1 billion a year. So that's money they can now save and put elsewhere.
In terms of people that are obese taking more time off work.
Yeah, and having to rely on the health system. And then you've also got the added benefits of productivity. So I can see that the government's obviously done work and gone, okay, if we pay for these weight loss jabs for these people that are in this criteria.
Just weight loss jabs?
I know,
like,
it sounds like...
use different language?
Then it's not only going to save money for the NHS that can be spent elsewhere, it's also going to boost productivity. So I can see where they're coming from. I just feel like the more and more people that use this, the more common it becomes, the more dangerous it becomes when it gets into the hands of people who don't actually need it. That is I
was listening to a Diary of a CEO podcast, and there was this guy talking about Ozempic and the impacts that it's having and the risks that are involved when people are taking this and they don't need it, and the amount of bowel problems that people are having, and then operations that you have to have because you're not able to go to the loo properly. Like, there's a whole lot of things involved that makes me think we're in such a time of instant gratification where people are, I'm definitely not trying to say that it's so easy to lose weight and you just you just go to the gym and you eat healthy, because I understand there's a lot more complexities for people. What I hate that for women particularly, because I would love to know the stats of how many guys are going and buying Ozempic that don't need it because they don't have diabetes. there's such an underlying need or necessity or pressure put on women to stay a certain weight. Like I guarantee there would be hardly any guys going to get Ozempic purely for aesthetic reasons. It's just like I think there's a lot more systematic issues at play here when it comes to the media and language and everything that we talk about. And I don't know, like I think as someone that's had an eating disorder before and is like quite hypersensitive to when people speak about weight in a way that's actually kind of unhealthy, I think that it needs to start being called out just like racist slurs. You know, people need to say, I feel really uncomfortable with that comment. Like it's,
Oh, 100%.
you know, like I think it's the language that we use with our friends, with our family at work actually needs to shift because glorifying weight loss is problematic in so many ways. And I just think that Ozempic is starting to magnify that because there's a quick, easy fix for everyone to be a certain weight. And that is really terrifying.
6% of all US adults now take Ozempic.
6%.
That's nearly 16 million people.
And how many people are obese?
So, but if you put that in perspective, so 6% of all US adults are using Ozempic, but 43% are obese and have diabetic-related conditions. So,
I mean, hearing that makes me think, I think I'm unaware perhaps of the magnitude of obesity across the world and how many people are suffering from health-related issues.
But isn't this, and I feel like we're getting a bit off topic, but isn't it a education conversation or a restriction conversation for companies that produce processed food or high sugar or all of that? Because I think having access to things like full sugar Coke, and again, this is probably me just being a bit naive, but having access to foods and drinks that are not good for you, like why don't we just make those products
incredibly expensive,
put a tax on them and then put a subsidy on fruit and veggies and all of that?
Well, that's exactly what needs to happen.
That for me is a much, much better long-term solution.
I think that that's exactly it. It's not just an education piece. I think that it's right now processed sugary foods are cheaper and a lot of people don't have the privilege of buying fruit and vegetables.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so that's actually more of the problem opposed to an education piece because if they were being directed to products that were cheap and good for them, why are you not investing that amount of money in marketing and advertising and education and taxing things that are, you know, that you could change the way people eat in many different ways.
Like it's cheaper to buy a can of Coke than it is a bottle of water, which to me is just like insane.
Oh, that's actually heartbreaking.
So if I did not have enough money or...
You're feeding a family of 7.
Of course I'm going to turn something cheaper.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, God. Okay.
I feel like this could be a whole episode.
Yeah, I agree. It's fascinating.
The price of food and how that impacts health and well-being. Oh,
God, you're good at content.
We'll get back to you on this episode. There's a lot of concern right now around AI. People are getting a bit nervous. Is it going to take my job? What's the world going to look like? But
one of the things that is not being spoken about is environmental impacts, right?
Yeah. And the consumption, the energy consumption it takes even just to write a tiny command in ChatGPT. When we write one sentence in ChatGPT, it uses the consumption of energy the same as putting a light bulb on for a whole hour. This is a typical Google search, which is the same as having a light bulb on for 2 minutes.
Yeah. And I think that this comes back to things like cryptocurrencies and the enormous amount of power that's used. It's almost like the focus is on productivity and people feeling really scared about job losses and what's my career going to look like and what's the world going to look like. But actually,
it's like, hello, there's another argument.
Also, the environment, like the amount of energy that's being sucked out of resources purely for AI and for, you know, the advancements of what it can do is a lot.
And when I read that, I instantly felt like a pang of guilt in terms of the fact, if I think about the increase in how much I've used ChatGPT from like today to 12 months ago, 10-fold, 20-fold. And I was like, oh my gosh, the light bulbs, you know? Like
what I like about the light bulb is it's a very obvious, easy to understand way of measuring your consumption.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's so hard though, isn't it? Because on one side, you have in the back of your mind, I don't want to get left behind. I need to be aware that this is the way that technology is moving and blah, blah, blah. Because it is, and there's nothing we can do to stop it. But how do you offset your usage if the amount that you're using is a lot?
I think what we'll see is tech companies becoming more innovative in terms of their energy consumption or their energy reliance, because we also have these climate goals and the Paris Agreement and a lot of companies having net zero emissions targets, but also AI targets. And they're probably sitting there, the CEO's probably sitting there going, oh gosh, we can't achieve both, so which one's going to give?
Well, it's like the equal and opposite problem, really. What they're trying to achieve from a technological advancement standpoint is literally the antithesis for what they're trying to achieve from a environmental standpoint.
Yeah.
So, I just don't understand why we're not doubling down on clean energy investment. I don't understand why we're not just going, okay, it is really expensive to invest in producing more clean energy, but it's necessary, so let's do it. I'm confused by why it's not.
Well, we are seeing that. So Amazon, Google, and Microsoft have all come out saying they're going to ramp up their investments in nuclear energy. So that is a type of clean energy.
Nuclear sounds terrifying.
I know, it does, yeah. Because when nuclear power stations blow up, it's like, that's a massive disaster.
Well, they're also like nuclear weapons. Like the word nuclear sounds so end of the world.
Nuclear just means like atoms.
Okay.
Yeah. But I know what you mean. Like when I read nuclear, I'm like, that does not sound clean.
Yeah.
That does not sound clean at all. Solar, wind, they sound very clean, but they're very unreliable. So the thing with nuclear is you can control it and it's consistent, whereas wind and solar, you're obviously very reliant on the weather. And so with these big tech companies, they need to be able to rely on this energy source if they're going to ramp up their AI investments.
So would investing in nuclear energy companies be an interesting investment?
There she goes.
Well, because if you think about it,
yeah.
especially if the world is, the weather, everyone would have noticed. It could be the middle of summer and there's a giant cyclone, or it could be the middle of winter and it's 30 degrees. You can feel it that the world is struggling from a environmental standpoint and the weather's being affected.
Yep.
So if we need clean energy to be able to have a more positive impact on the environment, and all these tech companies need an abundance of energy, and yet we can't rely on the weather because it's all circular, then nuclear energy surely is a really good answer to that, right?
And I think this is a good conversation in terms of like, if you are wanting to invest in clean energy ETFs or companies or even just that sector or space, it's like diversifying across lots of different types of energy, because some companies might be okay with relying on wind and solar. Others might need nuclear. Others might need a combination of all three. But we all know we have to head in that direction, whether we like it or not. Yes, it might be a few years delayed. The targets might get pushed out from 2030 to 2040, but long term, relying on drilling into the ground is not.
Oh God, it makes me feel so sad.
It's
even just
not a sustainable way of the future. Yeah.
So then if we were to look at investing in this particular sector or industry, your point around diversifying, so buying different types of companies or different ETFs, it could be looking at nuclear ETFs, it could be looking at solar ETFs, so that you're getting a broad, access. And maybe just also explain what ETF is for people who are listening that don't know.
Yeah, so an ETF is an exchange traded fund. So it's a basket of companies that trades on the stock exchange, and you just buy like one share in that and you get access to all the companies underneath. So it's like a basket of...
Kind of like a hamper?
Yeah.
So you're getting lots of different companies within the sector. It's just a way that you can diversify or not have all your eggs in one basket, like buying one particular company in that industry. You get access to all of them.
Yeah, or if you are investing in a clean energy ETF, like ICLN is one of the biggest ones. That's the ticker for it. The ticker is the identifier, so ICLN. So like a number plate on a car, it's just like the identifier of the ETF. So it's a clean energy ETF, and the ticker is ICLN. And it's just looking at what's in there and seeing if it's all in one sector, or you should be across at least the top 10 companies that are in there, in terms of, because those are the ones that will really move the needle.
I would love to, what was that? Sorry. I would love in the Investing Club to do a month on clean energy and look at different investments that people could make within that space. That would be really cool.
Great idea.
Sorry for everyone listening being I'm not in the Investing Club, but we actually, we've got 100, we're letting 100 more people in this week, which is exciting. We're kind of dripping them in just because it's only for intermediate investors at the moment. So if you're listening to this and you're like, what's an ETF? I don't understand the diversification, don't stress, because we will have more like easy access for beginners really soon. But if you are interested in joining the Investing Club, keep an eye on your emails because we'll have a little notification coming out probably in the next couple of days, I think.
Also, just to finish on this, it's not just AI that uses a lot of computing power. There's something else that's growing in popularity in the world that uses a lot of energy as well.
Oh, can I guess this? But I need clues because I don't know.
Money.
Digital money?
Yeah.
Is it?
Crypto.
Yeah.
Crypto uses a lot of energy. So you've got these two major new advancements that are so energy sucking. And also we're going to need like ugly data centers all around the world.
Oh yeah, we're just going to have giant like
warehouses full of computers.
Yeah. Oh, I kind of hate that.
Yeah.
I do think because people don't even understand the idea of what crypto is or how it's created. Same with AI. They don't really understand how it works, what it is. There's all these, I don't really know what the answer is, but I think if we can all make more effort to understand what is happening and what these industries require to function and thrive, we'll be able to think about what we need to be doing in terms of investing in things that are going to combat the negative impacts it's having, if that makes sense.
And it's talking to friends about it, I think also, because there'll be people that know more than you or want to learn and just like opening the conversation about investing in these certain things as well. The more we can talk about it, the more we can all educate each other.
Actually, if anyone's listening and you're an AI expert or you understand what's happening in this space and how it's impacting and will continue to impact the environment, it'd be so cool to chat to you.
Yeah.
Because I think that a lot of people would be interested if it can be explained in a way that makes sense.
100%. There's a bit of news with Uber and Expedia. Do you remember Expedia?
Yes, but is it the booking system?
Yes, yeah. So it's a US travel booking website.
I'm sorry, but I really thought this was completely gone. I haven't heard the word Expedia in a long time. I'm pretty sure my dad used to be a big fan of it.
Well, it's made headlines because Uber nearly made a bid for Expedia. So, and by that I mean they nearly decided to take it over, which is, as a $20 billion company, it would be one of the biggest acquisitions Uber has ever made.
That's enormous because I must say Uber just is popping up again and again in terms of whether it's Uber Pet or Uber Package or Uber Bikes. Like they're really starting to diversify their offerings.
Uber planes.
What would they
Uber
do?
trains.
Oh, Uber boats.
Uber helicopter.
Whoa.
Imagine accidentally ordering an Uber helicopter.
Oh, God.
Cancel.
Why would they
have been charged
$17,000. Why would they be buying a travel?
Yeah.
Like what would I'm trying to think what they would be moving into with that.
Yeah, so they're trying to become like a super app. So their mantra is that anywhere you want to go in your city and anything you want to get, we want to empower you to do so. So they're trying to almost become a booking logistics company. And they've even talked about taking over Amazon. Sorry, not taking over, like taking on. Sorry. Ooh,
I just feel like we don't need more Amazons in the world.
No.
You know, on one side I want to support Uber and invest in it because it sounds like they've got these massive, audacious goals to go beyond just transport. And you think, that could be like quite a great investment. But do I want to be supporting another potential Amazon?
Convenience. Imagine just like,
I know, but this is the problem, isn't it? We're constantly up against, and it's the same with the conversation we had earlier about AI and ChatGPT. How easy is it to just type in and get an answer, but then it's a whole hour of a light bulb being on. It's the same thing with Uber.
But like this morning, getting a bus
I know
versus getting a lime.
And mine was late, and I was late. I know.
You know, like, or walking. If there was no limes, I'd have to walk, which means I'd have to leave half an hour earlier, and it's just... boom, 10 minutes on a bike at work.
I'm so conflicted with this whole conversation because one side I want to go back to going and baking my own bread and making my own butter. And then on the other side, I'm like really happy with how much quicker I can do things.
And I think it's only going to get worse in terms of the dichotomy of like your values versus convenience, staying up with the play and what everyone's doing. And
So wait, have they actually bought Expedia or are they still thinking about it?
No, so it was rumoured.
Right.
So what happens is that usually you want to keep, if you're going to purchase a company, especially one that's $20 billion, you want to keep this under wraps because this got leaked and Expedia's share price jumped 7%. So now Uber has to pay more.
Who on earth is leaking that? And surely there's some kind of secret squirrel that you can get involved to find out who the little mole is.
But if you did buy shares on this information before it went public, then you could be done for insider trading.
But how are they meant to differentiate from someone who's just, enjoying their Saturday morning, have a cup of tea and thinking, I'm going to invest in Expedia. I think I'm going to invest in that. They have no idea what's about to happen.
Well, I think that if that was you, they probably wouldn't care. But
rude.
If you were a huge fund and you were putting tens of $1 million in, tomorrow, oh my gosh, wow, what a coincidence.
Right.
Yeah, they'd be like, hang on, and you've done that 10 times before. Oh, this is not, that's what I mean. Okay, got you. Whereas Sophie Hall, right, with her $1,000.
Okay, I get it. So did Expedia's share price go up?
Yes.
Did Uber's go up? What happened?
Yes. So Expedia's share price went up. Uber's has been going up for this whole year. It's up 85% this year.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Remember they went through years of the whole kind of, not sexual harassment, but there was a lot of...
No, I don't.
There was a lot of people there was a lot of cultural issues.
Really?
Yeah. And then so they changed CEO and everything. And they've got a new CEO in, and he was the previous CEO at Expedia. So everyone's like, I can see. Well, this could actually be a deal. It's not just people pulling it out of thin air. It's like, hang on, you used to work there. You're still on the board. You are now CEO of Uber.
Interesting.
We can see it's two businesses you know very well. You'd know just how well they'd mesh together, the benefits, the synergies, all of that. So
that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But also, sorry, have we got to the point of why they would be buying it? What would they do with Expedia as a product within Uber? Is it like an Airbnb booking holidays through Uber?
Booking travel. So like flights, hotels. Yeah. So you can book cars. You can book packages. You can get from A to B, but then what about staying? And I don't know.
Or flights. Uber flights. Oh my God,
Imagine the surcharge for school holidays.
Oh.
Imagine the wait time. It's like, come on, it's not loading, it's loading. Oh, and then in 1 minute, you're like, shit, get to the airport.
But I find it really hard to use Google Flights or Skyscanner or all those, even just websites for the airlines. I find it so annoying, and you're like, skip seat selection. And then they're like, are you sure? But they've made it a different color. So you want to say no, but then you're trying to say, it's so confusing. If Uber all of a sudden had a really easy way of booking travel, I'd be on board with that. Okay, wow. So this could be massive.
But I think from this, my takeaway is they're wanting to be a super app. They're pretty ambitious with these targets. They're making, $1 billion of profit a quarter. They have, I don't know, there's a big growth mindset here in terms of, I don't think we've seen what Uber could be just yet.
Okay. Exciting, interesting, love it. Love it.
And finally, Australia versus New Zealand. Gosh, we've got two very different economies there.
Why? What do you mean?
Well, Australia's going gangbusters and New Zealand is not.
Really? Gosh, that's annoying.
I know.
I do love Australia, but sometimes it annoys me when New Zealand is, the poor laggy cousin.
I know.
And then Australia is just absolutely creaming it. Why? We're so close together. What are we doing differently?
I know. It is incredibly frustrating, especially when people, you're over here and they're like, oh, you're Australian. And you're like, yes. No.
Also, I know this is so bad, but don't you reckon the Australian accent, particularly on girls, is so sexy? When I hear an Australian girl, I think hot. When I hear a "G'day, mate, how you going?" I'm like, nah, it's not doing it for me.
Yeah. Well, anyway, there's been data that's come out in Australia. They've got one of the strongest jobs markets. So this means that the people in the workforce, the new jobs have been created. It's at a 16-month high. So if we look at that versus New Zealand, we've got people leaving our country because they can't get jobs because the job market's so shit. And where are they going? They're going to Australia and they're going to the UK. So we are at a 19-month low in terms of our net migration. So we're having max exodus from the country.
Oh, that's actually really scary because already industries are struggling so much in New Zealand, whether it be hospitality or otherwise, to think that there's even more that's continuing and it's actually just speeding up in terms of people leaving. It's quite scary. I just think people need to pay more for jobs. It is absurd how expensive it is to live in New Zealand, particularly some parts like Auckland, compared to what people pay. It's 35% more just being in Australia for the exact same job.
I mean, people pay as in businesses.
Yeah, I just think salaries are so average in New Zealand.
But then those businesses are struggling. So how are they supposed to pay more if they're not getting more revenue coming in? So this is the whole thing. When the economy slows down, it's like the flow-on effects are like
see, I don't think about that. I'm just like, why are you not paying more?
Yeah.
But that makes sense.
And then this flows into interest rates. So we've got very different interest rate policies. So what's happening in New Zealand is that we've started to see interest rate cuts, which is good because it means, well, it's good for homeowners. It means mortgage rates will come down. It means that people with savings in the bank are getting less on those savings, which means it encourages spending. So we're now in an environment where we're trying to encourage people to borrow money because it's cheap, save less, and put that money into spending in the economy to help boost that top line of those businesses. Mm-hmm. So it's all this economics 101. It's like all connected. And in Australia, because they've got such a good economy right now, a better economy than New Zealand, they have come out and said, we're not going to cut interest rates. We don't need to. People are spending, jobs are good, all of that. So people are still getting good savings rates if they've got money in the bank. Yeah, it's just like the dichotomy of
whole New Zealand.
Yeah. The one takeaway from this is that whenever you hear of us talk about interest rates or you see headlines or anything like that, or interest rate cuts or they're on hold or whatever that is, if you see a headline where your interest rate is being cut, especially if you're in New Zealand where they are cutting right now and they could be lower in the next 12 months, just make sure that if you've got savings in the bank or in a high returning savings account, you check what rate you're getting because it could be very different to what you got 6 or 12 months ago.
And what would be a good rate for a high interest savings account? Would it be like 4%?
Yeah, 4%. I mean, interest rates in New Zealand right now are 4.75%. That's the country's interest rate, and then banks set different interest rates. So banks will have rates around 4%, but it totally depends on if you're putting your money in a term deposit for 3 months or 5 years, you'll get very different. But it's just being aware of if you put money in there and you thought, oh, I was getting 6.
Just check if it's still
just
at 6.
Check because you might actually check now and be like, oh, hang on, it's 4. Oh, okay, I actually might want to invest some of that money because now I'm not going to reach my long-term goals or like all of that. So,
and because about 6 to 9 months ago, keeping your money in the bank, you were getting sometimes 6%. So a lot of people were thinking, well, why would I put my money in other investments like the stock market or property or, other assets that are growing at a higher rate? Because the bank's pretty safe and very high returns, whereas now that's shifted and those are coming down. So it means people need to start being more aware of actually if you've got a lot of money in the bank, it's probably not the best place for it and you should look for other options.
And you just don't want to wake up in 12 months' time and be like, damn it, why did I not realize that? Because when it comes to growing your wealth or growing your money, every day counts. Yeah.
I think this is the thing. 1% doesn't sound like a lot when someone just says, oh, but it's 4% and someone else is at 5%. You think, whatever. But actually, if you were to understand how much that is over a 12-month period, you'd probably feel sick about not caring about it.
Yeah, and then you take that amount and you multiply that by 30
10
years.
or 20 or 30 and you're like, oh, no.
You're like, okay, you really should have done something about that. Yes.
Everyone should experience first class at least once in their lives, and Annie shouldn't miss out just because she can't afford it.
Help me, I'm poor.
Hey, do you have any, financial feelings? Were there any flexes this week, any financial faux pas that you would like to share with the team? Did you have any travel faux pas, like with money or good? Oh, you're looking like cheeky, which makes me think there's...
No, I just had very generous friends.
Ah.
Yes, which I'm very thankful for.
So you got a free holiday, basically. Went on the most bougie holiday and actually didn't pay for it.
I thought it would be a lot more expensive than it was, but it was nice. There was a lot of friends, a lot of eating out, a lot of dinners, but it ended up being, we saved money in other places. So it actually wasn't as expensive. It was kind of nice to come back from holiday once and not be like, gosh, I spent a lot. Mm-hmm. It's the last 2 holidays for me have been.
Yeah, quite stressful. My financial flex would be I find sometimes I go and try and save money on cooking, but then I end up spending more than if I'd just gone and bought my lunch out. And in the weekend... I made pumpkin soup, which is currently slightly splashed onto my jacket, which I didn't realise before we started recording. But we actually ended up having leftovers. So there's like probably 3 to 4 lunches worth. So it ended up being really cheap.
Nice.
Which doesn't happen a lot. I don't know why, but I must have, maybe I buy expensive groceries or it's just actually sometimes not worth it cooking versus spending out. But in this particular situation, it was well worth it.
Pumpkin soup,
Do you not like it?
It's one vegetable.
No, there's garlic, there's onion,
okay.
there's there's no other veggies.
Yeah, whereas I like a chicken soup that's got like chicken, carrot,
Oh.
broccoli, onion. It's got like, it's a bit more.
Diversification on the
Yeah.
vegetable front.
Yeah.
That's actually quite a good point.
Don't invest like you eat, Soph.
Yeah, good idea. No more pumpkin.
Variety is good.
I do sometimes whack a bit of broccoli in there just for some greenery, like
it goes
crisp up
brown.
a bit, and then put it in. It's almost like a crouton, but in your pumpkin soup,
Yeah. Nice, okay.
But good, that's a great one. We don't want to invest like we eat pumpkin soup.
Yeah.
Pumpkin soup is not giving you your 5+.
No, it's definitely not.
Okay.
Now I'm hungry.
Yeah, same. Okay. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to The Curve Weekly. Make sure you hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with all the money, biz and stock market news. And if you like what you heard, we would love a review. Thank you.
Yes, we would love a review. But if you
Only a
did
good
hate
one.
it, please, don't leave one if you hate it. No, but in all seriousness, could you please leave a review? Because it really helps other people find our cute little podcast.
And we hope you have a good week and see you next Monday.
Bye.
Bye. Sweet. Yeah. See you next Tuesday. Lol. See you next Tuesday. I mean Monday.
No, actually, though, new episodes out every Tuesday.